Today we have the pleasure of meeting Brendan Fox, MD of Destination Sports Experience, as he shares his insights into his career journey and the evolution of the sports specialist travel brand. He discusses the symbiotic growth of the wider Destination and Portman Travel Group and the challenges faced within the market and the exciting developments in mass participation sports, particularly that of HYROX. Finally, he emphasises the importance of technology, leadership and sustainability in the travel industry and reflects on how his role in managing a growing business has developed over the last 4 years. I hope you enjoy. Brendan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Steve, good to see you this afternoon.
Thank you. So, Brendan, you're MD of Destination Sport Experience, which we're going to really delve into today and the group that it's part of. Lots of ground to cover in a pretty busy week in your calendar, isn't it, with the London Marathon coming up on Sunday. I'm sure that's keeping you up at night and your team busy.
Yeah, I really don't know how many events we've got on this weekend, because there's London, there's Manchester, there's Liège-Bastogne-Liège, there's a HYROX event, or a couple of HYROX events. It's a crazy weekend, this one.
Right, well, better be quick then, because you've got stuff to do. So look, it's always good to start the podcast off with you giving us a bit of background about how you've ended up as MD of the business. I know you're looking at your sort of CV, you're a travel man through and through. But there's some interesting deviations, and that's what's always good to know, that where you started in that marketing role there, you're now doing this generalist role here, and I think it's really good for people to understand that journey. So if you could give us a quick potted history of it, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, I grew up in the golf trade as a teenager, and then ended up going to university, studied banking and finance, and left uni on one of the bank grad schemes, but was bored. After 6 months I had to get out. So went back to the golf trade and then ended up in travel. Went in my late 20s, worked for Air Tours. Now Air Tours at that point was one of the fastest growing travel companies in the UK, definitely the UK. And then I worked my way around like TUI as well, then back to My Travel, and then we had the merger with Cook's 2007. So at that point I left, joined a sports travel company, was there for quite a few years. But then 2021, post-COVID, the opportunity came along to join Destination Sport Group and essentially establish the mass participation endurance division within that. So Destination Sport Group is a collection of different sports travel brands under one big umbrella, where we're able to provide services across a multiple of different platforms to our customers, and it works really well because there's nobody quite like us. We're becoming much more global in our outlook and footprint. We've got nearly 400 employees now across over 14 countries, so it's a pretty big organisation we've got nowadays.
It's incredible. I mean, maybe just before we delve into the experience side, like you say, that which is your core baby, if that makes sense. You've got other concerns. Maybe go through some of the brands that you've got in there, because I'm sure quite a lot of our listeners will have heard of some of these brands and won't realise that they're part of this bigger group now that gives some really good buying power for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the brands, but it's actually our partners, our customers who we work with. If you look at the English Premiership, we're working with Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool. In other sports, we're working with the British and Irish Lions, England Rugby, Scottish Rugby. There's all sorts of organisations, clubs, groups that we work with. Within the actual group, the brands that we've got include Mike Burton Group, which they're the guys who really provide what happens on the Lions tour. We've got Sports World, who do VIP experiences and a lot of high-end hospitality. And then we've got Inspire Sport, who take youth groups to train at grounds such as Juventus's ground or Real Madrid or Manchester City. And they're bringing groups from all over the world to do that sort of thing. So, the breadth and depth of the organisation now is quite astounding. consider really we've only been going 3-4 years properly as a group. Where we are now from where we were is night and day, frankly.
Yeah. And was your plan always to try and launch a travel business in the most difficult market ever? I.e., COVID, cost of living, global warfare, and now we've got Trump. You can't even. If they say bad luck comes in threes, then we're on about number 5 or 6, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. There, I think the thing is though, when you've got all that change and flux in the marketplace, it does create a lot of opportunities. There's so many different dynamics working that, especially post-COVID, because post-COVID, or even during COVID, we were setting everything up. There was a lot of uncertainty. So if we could actually at that point say, no, we're going to do this and we're going to go for it, it was easy to work with partners because they didn't want to work with people who weren't sure about what they wanted to do and who were hedging their bets. But we were a lot more definitive about where we wanted to go to and where we were going to get to. Now, what has happened definitely over the last 3 years is the number of opportunities that have arisen that you wouldn't have, projected at all. And essentially, as one door opens, it can lead to another 10. And where we are as a group, that's even more apparent because each of the main brands will be working with partners, and some of the brands work with the same partner across a few different areas, but we each open up doors for each other. So it becomes very interesting. You can also take certain business models or project models and apply them to maybe some of your, new projects and see where you get to with those.
And that's like when you obviously mentioned things like the Premier League and the rugby. A lot of the time they're your logistic travel partner, right? You're organising for the actual teams as well as people to go to the events. You've got both sides, haven't you? And I suppose that's where it comes in, isn't it? Where you've suddenly got contacts at every part of the business that you need, isn't it, to make a perfect relationship?
That's right. Yeah, also because of the scale of the group, it means that you can invest in systems and platforms that you're able to utilise. So, at the previous sports travel business I was at, there were certain things we couldn't do just because we weren't geared up for it. So, business travel wasn't something we could do because we didn't have a 365, 24/7 business. We didn't have access to IT systems. Whereas now, we're able to offer all those sort of services. And Destination Sport Group is part of a larger UK-based travel group, Portman Travel Group, and a lot of our technology is derived from the business travel side of the business, which is Clarity Business Travel. So as they're making developments on the IT side, we are able to essentially copy those. And as they invest with even more enhanced technology, again, we just flow that through into ours. So we're able to give our sports partners the same experience as, say, the Metropolitan Police gets or the top accountancy firms get from Clarity. So it's a really good benefit of being part of a larger group.
Yeah, and so Portman own the overall group of the destination, and it come tears down. Did they have some of these brands, or was it a strategy that you went on to say we're going to own the sports travel market, whether it's, like you say, for teams, for participants, for spectators? Was that the vision that was set out?
I think Clarity had their own sports division. Historically, they've had their own sports division, and what really happened that was the catalyst for them expanding further was Thomas Cook Group gone bust.
Yeah.
So
Thomas, they used to do loads of sport, didn't they? Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So Thomas Cook Group went bust in September 2019. And if Thomas Cook Sport had been a standalone company, it could have kept trading, but it wasn't. It was part of Thomas Cook Tour operations. Therefore, it went bust. The team from there basically picked up their boxes from the office on the Monday morning and walked across Manchester to Clarity and joined there. And that's how they kind of set up.
As you say, as one door closes, another one opens everywhere.
Exactly. This is it, Steve. And, they then set up because they managed to retain a lot of the partnerships and relationships, with people like Manchester City, Liverpool, etc., people we were working with. Then comes along COVID.
Yeah.
And everything shuts down. But if you remember, one of the first things to reopen in COVID was English Premiership football. And the teams needed biosecurity was key. So they were taking out whole hotels or whole floors. They were chartering whole planes because there's plenty of planes sat in the ground doing nothing.
Yeah,
so
you might as well get them
no
going.
problem getting a plane. And it became quite apparent that, look, there's a lot of good in the sports business. You can really focus and grow it, and that's what Paul, who leads Sports Group, set about doing, and then adding on various parts to it, because obviously at that time a lot of that was about business travel, team travel, some retail of tickets and hospitality through hotel packages via their newly launched brand, which is Sports Breaks. So that all made a lot of sense to sort of then build on that. And what we've tried to do over the last 3 years is kind of strengthen the core of what we have. So look at where our skill sets lie and then use those to go global.
Yeah.
So, after initially starting in the UK, we've then been able to expand into Europe, we've been able to expand into the US, now into Australia, and also we've got a team based in China, which is fantastic because it's such a massive country and so many of the sports teams want to go to China, or there's big events or championships taking place.
Sorry, Brendan. So that's not only looking for the market of customers to purchase your products, but also then to move sports teams in and out. And there's like a double market every time you open up an office, I assume.
Yeah, and what you get there, Steve, which is really quite interesting, is because that when you venture into a territory such as that, it's finding people that you can trust to work with.
Yeah,
that's a really big factor, and us having our own team on the ground in Shanghai and Beijing it's just fantastic. It really is. It means without we're not worried about anybody going over and will that third party on the ground look after the customers for you. It's our team, and they do a really, really brilliant job of it. So
do they tend to be local? Do they tend to be local people, local experts then?
Yes. Yeah. Funnily enough, quite a few of them did work for Thomas Cook China. So, coming back to that Thomas Cook point before.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah. This is it. One opportunity leads to another.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So maybe let's focus on then your area, your specialist subject within this incredible group, because that's about participation, isn't it, in these sports? You want to go through the history of what's been going on there?
Yeah. So essentially we're mass participation, stroke endurance. So we concentrate on the running market, cycling market, triathlon, and HYROX. So HYROX has been a fast-growing sport in recent times, and we also have a charity division. So we've got Destination Sport Charity that works with charities in the UK, the US, providing them with opportunities to take to their supporters that they use for fundraising. So an example is giving those charities access to the Sydney Marathon, which for the first year this year will be one of the one of the Abbott World Marathon Majors. So we've got a lot of runners who'll be going down to Sydney fundraising for all those charities. So that gives those charities all that additional support now. So we try and work with the charities to get them into more events so that they can have more people fundraising for them, which works brilliantly. But within the rest of the sort of destination sport experiences area, when we set it up, the idea was that everything would be branded destination sport experiences. But then an opportunity came to basically bring Marathon Tours and Travel into the family. Now, Marathon Tours and Travel was and is the world's largest running travel company. Operates all of the Abbott World Marathon majors and owns the Antarctica Marathon. So, one of the toughest marathons to get to. And what we've been able to do with Marathon Tours and Travel is grow that, roll it out globally. So we've now got specific operations in market in the US, in UK / Europe, in Australia and in China. So again, using that Chinese team to establish a Marathon Tours and Travel office in Shanghai, and then work to bring Chinese runners out of China to run in London or New York or in Sydney. But then we've got a project at the moment to bring international runners into China. So the Shanghai Marathon is en route to be one of the World Marathon majors, hopefully in 2027. So we are now working to bring runners to that event, which would be fantastic when it happens. So there's all these things, Steve, all these dynamics. If you move into another country, you just look at what opportunities exist there to potentially do more.
You've got this brilliant opportunity, haven't you, to look, like I said, from both angles. So you've obviously had a travel background, Brendan. I'm assuming you're into your sports, which is why you've got a passion for this now.
Yeah, I've always been a cyclist. That's my thing. Yeah, cycling's ever since I was a kid. I've done a few marathons as well, but it's the training for the marathons. It's hard work. I can go out tomorrow.
You can't just get a few wheels. Yeah.
No, I could go tomorrow, ride my bike for 2-3 hours. I'd be happy as Larry. But it's the training for marathons, and every weekend building on those long runs. We've got customers who've done more than 500 marathons. And God knows how they get the time to do these, but these people are amazing, absolutely amazing. They really are. I know one in particular who, he's retired now, but he was a senior leader of a major worldwide brand. And I asked him, how the hell did you do over 500 marathons? And he said, it was quite easy. I would always plan my travel to whatever office for the Friday or the Monday. So it meant I could stay the weekend and run the marathon. Brilliant.
Yeah, hopefully he's retired when he told them that he's just been putting his diary around a marathon schedule for the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
Oh dear. I always worry about knees when it comes to running. Maybe it's just because I've got bad ones, but you're just like...
No,
I'll have a bike any day of the week. That's a lot safer.
Yeah, well, that's it. And this is a good thing about, what I do, because, our cycling division, Sportive Brakes, we acquired that in 2022. That was a business that was potentially going to go bust. So what we did was we did a deal where we protected all of the forward bookings for the customers so that the customers didn't lose out. And we've been able to grow that business. Now, because I'm a cyclist, it means I can relate to it quite well in terms of, what hopefully matters when you're, looking to go on one of our trips. But at the same time, still need to split that personal and desire for an event or doing whatever as part of the trip to make sure that you're making the right commercial decision or the right customer decision. I used to have an interview question for new reps, which was, if you're on a trip to the Tour de France and Lance Armstrong is approaching and you've got customers behind you who can't see Lance, what are you going to do? And the number that would pause and not want to give up their front row seat just so that the customers could see it was amazing. And you know at that point that there's no point having that person as a rep because they'll just do it for their own reasons. You've always got to put the customer first. So it's important, that one.
No, it is difficult, but very important. Yeah, I think that is. And so, so you've got to be able to share your love across all these areas. So have you got yourself into HYROX then? That's the latest one then?
I want to. I really want to do it. If I was 30 years younger, it would be my thing for sure. Absolutely. I just need to get myself really fit for it because it's the wall balls at the end, the final task that scares me.
It's amazing though, isn't it? How it's taken off, and it's obviously you can see why to some you can obviously from the health bit, but it's also very visual, isn't it? Like you say, it's in people's feeds on all of their social, and they see a bit of it and go, I want that. And in fact, it's live, and they've got all of that performance. It's very well thought through.
Yeah, I spent 2 days last week at HYROX HQ in Hamburg with the team there, and some of the insights they have are tremendous. I didn't know until it was saying to me that there are some competitors who bring their own film team with them. So
they are influencers in that world,
Yeah, they'll be there, and they won't just have one person with a video camera. They'll have 2 or 3.
The sound guy and everything.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really is. But it's such a phenomenon, and the way it's growing. The last 12 months, they've had over 600,000 competition entries in the year, which is more than double what it was the previous 12 months. So they've really been more than doubling over the last sort of 3-4 years. Interestingly, the UK is actually the largest market in the world.
Is it really?
Yeah, and the event that was in Glasgow in March was the world's biggest at that point, which was like 17,000 people taking part in it.
I'm going to say that's taking part, isn't it? That's what people won't get your head around.
Yeah. So what we are seeing, Steve, now is a lot more travel, which is why we got involved, making it easier for people to take part in the events. Because if you look at, say, Ireland, there's one HYROX event a year.
Yeah.
So that's in Dublin in November. So you've then got all of that community over in Ireland looking to take part in
desperately
another HYROX. And one of the benefits of having somebody like Ryanair based out of Dublin is that you can get anywhere in Europe. And when we've analysed like the bookings out of Ireland to various HYROX events, they're just spread. People are travelling all over Europe just to take part, which is fantastic. That's the way we wanted to see it develop.
It's incredible, isn't it? Like you're saying, it's a sport you need to travel to, isn't it? Because, I mean, how many events are there in the UK? Because there won't be that ridiculous amount, will there? It's a European travel thing.
Yeah, there's 2 Londons, Birmingham, Manchester, Cardiff, Glasgow. So that's 6. There was 2 Manchesters last year. I'm not sure if there'll be 2 Manchester again. But, you are seeing so many more people travel. We've got a significant number of people going to Barcelona this coming weekend. And they're coming. There's a lot of Brits going, but then they're also traveling from other countries to Barcelona. So people, they get hooked on it, and then they want to try and beat their time from last time. Or then they maybe want to qualify for World Championships and things like this. So it's a brilliant concept. It really is.
And so are your customers? With my niece. I'll come and watch. I'll be the cameraman.
Yes, there you go.
I'll follow you on your journey. We'll make a
Yeah.
special film about your journey into HYROX. How about that? I won't even charge to be able to see that. So in terms of your customers, so let's stick on HYROX then. Are you moving, like I say, Irish people to a Manchester event or into a Barcelona event and vice versa? Is your
Yeah.
market pretty much global?
Yeah. What we're seeing is a lot of inter-country travel now, especially in Europe. Um, we're also starting to see a lot more movement in the US, especially for the bigger events, something like New York, which is the
Hmm.
end of May. Um, there's obviously a lot of US participants taking part in that, but you're also having quite a lot of Europeans.
Yeah.
So you're getting the US participants maybe booking 2 nights with us, but then you're having the Europeans book 4 or 5 nights because obviously they're going to go to New York, take part in the event, but they want to do everything else in there is to do in New York as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very much, when we first started talking with HYROX about, how where this thing could go, we essentially did take the Abbott World Marathon Majors model and looked at what we'd done with working with all the majors over the years and apply that to HYROX, and
Yeah.
it's definitely going in the direction we wanted it to go. You're never
Yeah.
quite sure if these things are going to really happen the way you expected, but this one's definitely heading in that direction for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like you say, there are such good models out there now. Even borrowing back to the original Masters events from the tennis and the golf, and realizing that if you get a calendar of events, you can then fill in between. And there are no new lessons, aren't there? It's a case of saying, how do we fast track that sport to say that worked really well when we've got that cadence of event?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And again, just on that particular example there, Steve, as you're saying, HYROX have done that with using a lot of the Ironman ideas
Yeah,
because, finish finish in the top part of your age group, and therefore you can qualify for World Championships, just like Ironman have.
yeah,
In fact, that's very similar to in running to the age group World Championships, where you can qualify for those next year if you hit certain times, etc.
yeah.
Which is actually quite good because we, incidentally, are the headline sponsor of the World Age Group World Championships, so we're
How
quite
neat
happy
is
about that.
that? Yeah,
How
there you
neat,
go.
yes.
So all those runners listening out there, get on one of your events, and you'll be getting whisked around the world to where are the finals this year then?
New York,
Oh, come
yeah,
on.
New York for the Age Group World Championships this year. Um, so that'll be. It was in Sydney last year, which was quite exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York this year.
Bizarrely, slightly more accessible, but yeah, still not quite right. So in terms of obviously destination sport experience, you've added the marathon brand, you've got the triathlon brands, you've got the cycling, both sportifs and events. Can you see further growth in that area? Have you got plans to either create more brands or acquire more brands?
Yes, there's more expansion for us to do in territories, so source markets.
Okay.
So um, we would very much like to do something down in South Africa. Um, it's easier. It's easier when you're sort of working in English-speaking countries, not just because everybody speaks the same language, but from an IT perspective as well. So you can
Okay.
clone the IT much better. So if you look at the booking system that we use, it was developed in the UK with UK English. So we've been able to sort of copy that for the US, change the dollar sign, change the dates around. And then
Yeah.
for
Just to be
Australia, we've
awkward
been able to, yeah, so Australia, we could keep the dates the same way,
and
just had
change
to
the.
change the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's quite easy to do things like that. It's a little bit more tricky into Europe when you're trying to do that sort of thing. But strategically for us, we get the synergies if we can bring more people from different markets to a single event. So that helps us manage that event. So, if you look at in the cycling side for the Etape Tour, we've probably got 40 plus nationalities that have booked with us, traveling from all over the world. So all we need to do is get them to that destination.
Yeah.
Have the event there. So that's quite good for us. But definitely growing out in other countries is important. Some of that will be just us going in organically and building out. Some of it could be acquisition. In terms of other sports, there is one we're talking with at the moment, which may potentially be something that we get ourselves into. So that's, in fact, thinking about it, there's two we're actually talking with at the moment that could potentially lead to something. And we'll always consider whatever, if we can leverage some of that technology to help us on that step forward, then that's good. Because, the thing about travel is it's so intangible as such. To me, one of the best ways for travel to really make it work is on the IT side. So the better you can make your IT, the more successful you're going to be with it, and that's for sure.
It's so true, isn't it? We're looking, it's an annual wrestling match and fight in our house as to where we go on holiday, because nobody wants the time. But you go onto some sites and you think, oh, this is a dream. Go onto others and you can't even work out, and you just think, how are they booking a holiday? How are they selling a holiday? That's simple, isn't it? Find a villa and book it. But you're right. That frictionless journey is vital, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also then the operations behind that, Steve, as well too. So that making sure that all of that customer data that the customers provided you with at the time of booking flows all the way through, and trying as much as possible to remove any manual intervention. There's one of our event partners at the moment that is getting frustrated with some participants who are not fulfilling their entry. So they'll be supplied with the entry that they need to complete, and you need that person, that customer, to do that before the system closes. And if they don't do it before the system closes, they can't participate. But then that person will turn up at the event saying, I'm in. But it's like, no, you're not, because you haven't completed it.
I feel it.
So, with this particular event partner right now, we're looking at a new, fully integrated system such that we can take the possibility of the customer not confirming their entry out of the problem, and it'll just flow the way through, so the customer won't have to do it themselves, which would be good. So it's little things like this.
Because we all know,
Good,
we don't want any user errors in there, do we? Not an event
No,
they may be trained for 6 months, and then they rock up and, sorry, your name's not down, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, Well, it's one of these things as well within travel, isn't it, Steve, about passports? You always say to people, you must book with your name as per the passport. Don't give us your nickname. Don't give us an abbreviation or whatever. It's got to be as per passport. And the number of times that it's still not happens, right? So
there's only so much you can do, as they say.
No, that's right. Yes.
So look, it'd be quite interesting to explore. You're obviously schooled in travel. A lot of you work for some big companies that did some good training and stuff and gave you certain key skills. But how, if I'm thinking about since 2021 when you sort of kicked all this off, how has your role evolved as you've acquired these brands? It's a very different shaped business to even when you were probably thinking of pretty much in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, totally. Last year I did more travelling on business than I've ever done. Ever. And the funny thing was that I didn't feel tired because I enjoyed it so much. And again, when you're at the events, there's so much you learn. there's so many new opportunities come up. So, this weekend I'll be in London at the marathon. I'll be with the marathon guys from Thursday through to Monday. My diary's already pretty chock with different meetings because there's people from all parts of the world there that you have the opportunity to, have a coffee, discuss some ideas, and then all of a sudden, a new thing pops up.
Yeah.
So certainly me traveling to events has been a big thing. Traveling to the other offices has been another thing.
Yeah.
But then possibly the biggest impact is the amount of time I spend working. So, my day usually if I'm at home, and I live near Manchester, if I'm at home, my day normally starts earlier in the morning talking with either the Australian team or the Chinese team. And then, the UK's online, talk with the UK guys, and then middle of the UK afternoon, the US team will wake up and then they're online, and then you're through to that with them until, early evening, and then before you know it, the Aussies are back awake. So it's
Having an early start, yeah.
honestly, it really is. It's like a hamster wheel. You never seem to get off it at all. It's been good. This past weekend with Easter, fortunately, a lot of the offices have been closed, so it's been less busy. However, we have had the Boston Marathon, and we've had the Amstel Gold Race, and we've had 2 HYROX as well. So we've still had plenty of events to do. So that's fine from a delivery perspective. But at least the offices have been a wee bit quieter this weekend, which has been good.
Yeah. Just give you a bit of sleep. You've had a time for your Easter eggs. So, do you have? I'm assuming you've got some good guys then heading up each of these brands. Otherwise, you really would collapse, wouldn't you?
Yes,
you've got to have trust across those.
Yeah, you do. All the leadership roles that we've got, everybody there has worked in sports travel for 10, 20 years each.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got people who've been to a lot of these events, know what's happening at events, know how those events have evolved over time, but also have had experience maybe in other sides of travel. So, mainstream working for, people like TUI or Thomas Cook or that in the past, some of the learnings you get from those organisations prove invaluable when it comes to, sports travel. I remember when the Boston bomb went off, and, we immediately set up the emergency office to, check up on all the customers. But having that plan in place that was built off the back of, I think, the 2E plan originally, and knowing that you had additional things like timing systems that you could actually refer to and try and track down where the customers were in relation to, where they were on the route in relation to the bomb site was great, because quite quickly you could work out whether or not, who did you need to worry about or who did you not need to worry about. So, all the experience that the team has got is totally invaluable. It really is. This little, just knowing little things is tremendous, especially when you come to cycling. And, because obviously the big races like the Giro d'Italia, the Tour de France, the critical stages are up in the mountains, but there's not many roads around the mountains. So, if you hit a traffic jam, how do you get around those? Or there's all sorts of issues. So having people who understand that local area is fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, makes sure. So has your role moved more into a strategic, where we're going with the direction, than maybe the operational, or are you sort of caught between two?
No, I try as far as I can do not to be working in the business and try to be working on it. If I start taking on work to do as such, it won't get done because I'll have too many different distractions. So, I won't manage anybody else's spreadsheet for them or anything like this. And I don't get involved with the operational delivery of an event. So if you take this weekend as a good example in London, um, I think we might be operating across 12 to 15 hotels. We'll have the American team there, the Australian team, the Chinese team, the UK team. I personally don't have any role.
Yeah.
I'm just there floating about, meeting people, talking.
Yeah, because it's a magnet for your world to meet up.
Yeah.
All these bigger, so you know that if you want to network and meet and evolve the business, they're going to be there.
Yeah, exactly, and also have that freedom that if, I don't want to have to be at, somewhere at 9 a.m. to deliver customers and then letting customers down because actually I've got a commercial opportunity that I've needed to pursue. So I try as far as I can to leave the guys just to look after that. What I do is I will turn up to some of the customer events. So Thursday night we'll have a welcome reception for a lot of the US runners. So I'll go along to that, just see what's going on, but also chat with some of the customers. And I think at the moment with a lot of what's happening due to President Trump, then we'll some of the insights we'll get from the customers this week will be interesting. Are some of
when they start off the meeting with an apology for being American. I've been to a couple of events recently, and a lady put her hand up to ask a question in the audience. Went, first of all, sorry, I apologise, I'm American. It's like poor people.
We've actually seen some Canadian customers for like HYROX New York have second thoughts about going because they're fearful of the reaction locally. And you hear some of the general travel comments about some of the load factors for the airlines looking a bit soft for summer. And I did read something yesterday from an accommodation company who were saying that their US inbound to UK sales were dramatically down recently. Yeah. So, I need to be looking at that and worrying about, is this something that's going to affect us? Now, fortunately, we've always seen demand for our sort of activities maintain their strength, because if you're a runner, you're a runner, and there's only one chance to run the London Marathon this year. And if you don't take it, you don't know if you're going to be able to do it next year. You might not get an entry, or you might be injured or whatever. So we've always felt that we were in a stronger position than, say, the market demands or the general market demands. So, but Thursday night for me will be a good test of seeing what the real feedback is from those US runners.
And so it's a fabulous thing to do. I had it's not gone live yet. Some guys that have set up a chain of restaurants in London at the moment called the Salad Project, and it's an amazing. Don't you come across it? Have a Google. It's really growing quickly, and these like takeaway at lunchtime in the city, they'll have 30 people queuing outside to get their lunch. So what the guys who launched it do from time to time is go and queue up and go in the queue for 45 minutes, and they say they get more insight and more. They haven't got their badge on. They're there as punters, and they said they just love it. They get like over here these people going like, "What am I doing? Why am I queuing for a salad?" But I am, and like they get this fabulous. It's the only way you're going to get it, isn't it? You can get reports, you can get official data, and that's fine. But suddenly getting that real insightful commentary from somebody who's just travelled half the way across the world to do one of your events.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I do try and keep a low profile. There's a funny story years ago. When I worked for Air Tours, my area looked after the cruising part of the tour operator, and I went on a holiday, and my plan was, don't tell anybody what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the very first night, we're on the doctor's table, and he just tells everybody what I did, and it was like, no, you've just gone and made sure that nobody's going to give me straight feedback all week.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you might as well get your clipboard out then and get going.
Yeah, definitely. You need to keep that low profile so you find out what people do think. That's for sure.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Look, we're getting towards the end of our time, Brendan. I've got one question. We had a panel that we did before Christmas with different travel companies, so UK self catering, something across Europe with in terms of holidays, and then a global travel, which was like incredible, tricking people all over the world. And it was a really interesting. Lots of trends came out, lots of things. But one of the key things that they were all facing in various ways was the sort of challenges on sustainability. Is that something you're seeing as a much more important part of your role now to make sure, because you're in the nicest possible way, you're moving around a pretty educated customer, aren't you, as well? Somebody who will care about that. I think it will be a priority for them.
Yeah, and the good thing about what we do is that most of the event partners that we work with have got their own sustainability policy. That's very important. So if you again, looking at this weekend for the London Marathon, for international runners coming into London, there is an additional, carbon tax as such that they pay, and that's obviously helped towards, the planting of forests, to take those carbon emissions away as such. Now, everything within the London Marathon is very much focused on sustainability and heading towards net zero. And they've tried various different things over the years to reduce waste and to increase the recycling that they do. And, they're probably one of the best that we work with. But all of the majority of the event partners we work with are like that. In terms of then the travel side, obviously we're taking people around the world. So, where people can, we do encourage them to take the train, especially within Europe. Mm-hmm. It's so easy to take Eurostar from the UK over to north of France. We do hundreds of runners go to Paris Marathon with us every year. So, mm-hmm. Taking the train's obviously a bit more friendlier than flying. But obviously the airlines as well have become better with the technology and the planes that they're using, be much more, much more efficient, especially, those big Dreamliners and things like this. So, airlines they've definitely taken it on board. So it's something we're very aware of. Even what we do ourselves, we've reduced what we give away to customers as, say, merch items, because some merch items people may not want, they might not value. For cycling, we don't produce any cycling kit, because whereas some of the cycling competitors do give away cycling kit, but we just feel, to be honest, if customers want it, they'll buy it. We're better off not giving it away, and therefore it's not wasted.
Yeah. It's such a careful thing, isn't it? I suppose it's interesting, isn't it? It's lovely to hear that they're all the things that you're considering now, because I think you have to do, we've all got a part to play, haven't we, in helping this. And if we don't start change, then I think we might be knackered in a few more years if we're not careful. So that's good to hear.
That's it. I whenever I do run, I take my own bottle. I run with my own bottle. And there was one big marathon actually. I turned up at the first water stop on the route, and they weren't geared up for somebody with their own bottle. Yeah, because normally there would be a water tank, and you would just turn the tap, and that would be it. But this big marathon didn't have it. Now it's changed since, and they do have it now. But it's simple things like that. All these, there's lots of different ways and techniques that the events can help each other by, say, sharing the knowledge of, we do this and this works really well, and therefore, that event can start doing it. So lots of this stuff, Steve's really important for the future.
Yeah, it's good. And one of the questions was interesting as well, the fact that you're using people on the ground and companies on the ground actually in the area, so you're putting something into that economy as well. It's not just about the travel and the carbon footprint for me. It's that interesting thing to say, are you helping businesses in the different destinations that you get all the benefit from being there? So it's important you give something back, isn't it?
Yeah, well, so that particular point is twofold for us. So we have local teams in Europe for cycling. So
Yeah.
one, it means you've got people locally who know the roads, know the contacts, know what to do. But secondly, you're not therefore sending somebody out from the UK on every trip. So again,
Yeah.
you're reducing the kind of the footprint that way, but you're also not paying all those extras for it. And you're better off paying people locally and putting something into that local economy. It's much, much easier that way.
But it's also a better experience to have the local guide, isn't it, than you or me guessing that, getting Strava out and putting a route in and trying to, and then realise that road's gone or it's gravel or something.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure has been done.
Yeah, definitely. It's,
So,
you're absolutely right there.
so, yeah. So a moment of reflection to finish off on then, Brendan. I was going to say, because you've done so much, even if we went back to June 21 when you were planning all of this destination sport experience, which I think it was, wasn't it? It launched in October, was that right?
That's right, yeah. That is
Roughly
it, yeah.
around that, wasn't it? I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a piece of advice now that you'd give slightly younger Brendan to help these last 3 or 4 years?
I don't know, actually. That's a quite a good question, Steve. What we set out to achieve at that point in time, the business is a very different animal. Very, very different animal.
Yeah.
I think the opportunity with the acquisitions helped us sort of turbocharge things. So that was good.
Yeah.
We've ended up employing so many more people than we ever imagined we would do. That's been one thing. Having good people and recruiting good people is so important. It really is. Without those good people, you can end up losing time, a lot of time. Because the thing with their business as well, because it's annual in terms of there's only one London Marathon a year, there's only one Etapta 2 a year, there's only one Mallorca 312 a year. Therefore, you've got to get it right in those 12 months before that event. If you don't get it right, then you're going to have to wait another 12 months. And by getting it right, okay, that's operationally, but that's also sales-wise. So if you want to make a big success of something, you've got to make that success this year. You can't wait to next year for it. So it's, that's probably about the sort of biggest things. But yeah, what we've done as a team, not just Destination Sport Experiences team, but Destination Sport Group, and then also the wider Portman Group. We couldn't have done what we've done without the support of everybody. Even over the last couple of weeks, we've been sort of on board and a few new people, and it was stunning when I made it a list of who the new people would have to engage with across different parts of the business. It was absolutely incredible. It really was. It was a big, long list.
It's great, which is a great credit, isn't it? It's a wonderful story. So look, Brendan, thank you so much for sharing time. I just realised now, 3 o'clock, the Americans are going to start waking up. Their alarms have gone off now. You're going to start getting those emails coming through with lots of challenges. But look, fascinating. We'll keep an eye on there, and I'll go charge my camera ready for following on your HYROX experience next year. I look forward to that.
Absolutely. We can do a double, Steve, on there.
Can I do cycling, please?
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Steve.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank
Cheers.
you.